Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50, where we two-hand touch everything from both sides of the field and still get flagged for roughing the passer. I'm your host, Dan Amsler. This episode is brought to you by JDP Media. Alright, this week let's take a look back at week 5, let's take a look ahead at week 6, and we're going to start with our stock up like we traditionally and typically do. First one I want to talk about today for stock up, Taysom Hill. Now, if you are playing in a league where he has dual designation as both quarterback and tight end, and you had him starting this week, congratulations. Taysom Hill rushed for 112 yards. He rushed for 3 touchdowns and threw another touchdown for 4 total. Now, stock up this week, we need to make sure we are curbing expectations moving forward. Let's not forget that Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and Chris Olave were both all out for most of this game. Chris Olave started, did not finish. He's in concussion protocol. Jameis Winston was out injured, so the Saints were working shorthanded. Kind of nice that the new coach actually sees that Taysom Hill has some of the talent. Sean Payton was able to get the most out of that in the last few years. Let's hope that continues to go. Second one for stock up, Leonard Fournette. Hey, he finally showed up for us this week. 139 total yards and a touchdown. And if you're in a PPR league, you had to love those 10 receptions that he had. Next up, Gabe Davis. So a lot of folks have been down on him. He's been fighting some injuries. We've talked about that in the other videos that we've done. But he showed up with 171 yards on 3 catches and 2 touchdowns. If you had him in your starting lineup, you were highly rewarded. If you didn't, you were kicking yourself. But stock up, Gabe Davis looked healthy. It looks like he is back. Next one up, Breece Hall. 197 total yards from scrimmage and a touchdown for the New York Jets. Broke off a couple huge plays, looked very explosive. Michael Carter did not see the action that he had been seeing earlier this season. This is truly Breece Hall's backfield, and he is exploiting that. Next one up, Josh Jacobs. 154 rushing yards. A new career best for him. He also had 39 receiving yards on 5 catches and a touchdown, so he's starting to show that he can be more active in the passing game. Josh Jacobs, a lot of folks were worried about him at the onset of the season, that he wasn't going to be utilized in that Josh McDaniel offense. I think we can put those concerns aside. For your bonus stock up this week, the New York Fighting Giants, the football Giants from New York. Anytime you go in and you beat the Green Bay Packers, you are going to get a thumbs up from me. So the New York Giants are now 4-1 on the season and totally wrecked Aaron Rodgers' day. Kudos to you. Stock up, New York Giants. All right, stock down. We have to start with Jamar Chase. Now, we're getting to the point of the season where we kind of know who these guys are. Jamar Chase now has 4 games in a row where he has scored less than 13 points in a PPR format. So if you're playing in a standard format, he scored even less. Outside of week 1, Jamar Chase has been a letdown this season. That offense just does not look the same. I don't know if it's the Super Bowl hangover, but Jamar Chase is number 1 for stock down. Number 2, Aaron Jones. So here's a scary stat for Aaron Jones owners. So far this year, he's only had 1 game with over 15 points. That was against, unfortunately, the Bears in PPR leagues, which is incredibly damning, especially if you have them in those, because we were expecting Aaron Jones to play a major part in that Green Bay Packer passing attack. He's not seeing the usage. So outside of 1 game, Aaron Jones has not been very effective this year. Next one up, DJ Moore. And we're going to talk about him a little bit more in the news notes and highlights from the week. But DJ Moore, if you're an owner of him, you already know that this year he has 0 games where he scored more than 14 points. That's in a PPR format, so in standard again, even less than that. Next one up, Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson received 0 rushing chances, 0 opportunities in the rushing game. For the Los Angeles Rams this past week, Cam Akers got all of the rushing attempts. Henderson did see some targets in the passing game, but did not see a single rush. Najee Harris owners, unfortunately I'm one of them. 0 games with over 14 points. We knew going into the season that the offensive line was questionable. They had questionable play at quarterback. We were hoping that the volume alone that he was going to see would carry him. Unfortunately, 0 games over 14 points this year. There is reason to hope with Kenny Pickett as a quarterback who likes to throw the ball deeper than Trubisky that the passing lanes may go further down the field. We may see the safeties having to play back, which could open running lanes for him. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen the usage in the passing game, so for that reason, Najee Harris is number 5 on the stock down. All right, your bonus stock down for this week, Davante Adams. And this has absolutely nothing to do with the stat line that he put up on Monday Night Football. But Davante Adams, on the final play of the Raiders, I don't know if he misread the way the defender was covering his route or if the corner forced him into a different route. But Davante Adams actually ran into Hunter Renfrow and blew up the final offensive play for the Raiders. And then even worse, I'm sure you've seen the highlights by now, but after the game, he actually shoved a freelance photographer after the game to the ground. Now, the NFL is looking into this. He's going to definitely be getting a fine. It's very possible he'll be getting a suspension. But more importantly, that journalist has filed a police report with the Kansas City Police Department for assault and battery. So we'll see where that goes. Davante Adams came out after the game. He apologized, went out to his Twitter account, apologized again. But it looks like Davante Adams is going to be in some trouble for this. So if you're a Davante Adams owner, make sure you're watching the reports. We're looking at that possible suspension. So Davante, again, has nothing to do with his stat line, has everything to do with his actions after the game, and the fact that he blew up the final play for the Raiders. All right, so I've got a bonus stock down for you this week. Stock down for the NFL Rules Committee. Something has to be done about these roughing the passer penalties. This is getting crazy. So if you watch the game, you saw the sack that Jones had on Derek Carr where he forced the fumble. And instead of getting the fumble recovery, they actually called roughing the passer on him. I would love to blame the referees, but by the wording of the rules, it was actually the correct call. So the NFL Rules Committee, you need to look at this because you're seeing a major backlash against the NFL. These games are almost becoming unwatchable. I understand that we want to protect the football players as much as possible. Go out to the fireside chat that I did with my cousin Jordan Best, and we actually talk about quarterback and NFL player safety. But this is getting to the point where it's almost unwatchable. So NFL Rules Committee, you are the bonus stock down, the super stock down this week. Okay, so some news notes and injuries, some highlights that we need to know after Week 5 heading into Week 6. The Carolina Panthers have let go of Matt Rule, the head coach. They've also let go of some of the other coaching staff. This has led to rumors that the Carolina Panthers are looking at a complete blow-up. There have been trade rumors already circling around Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore. So it'll be really interesting to see where those players go. At this point, if any of those got traded, you could make a strong argument that they're probably going to wind up in a better spot than where they're at. In other news, Ron Rivera actually called out Carson Wentz in his post-game press conference. You don't see that very often. To me, I found it shockingly refreshing that we actually got an honest opinion from an NFL coach. Carson Wentz doesn't need his handheld. He's a professional quarterback. If he can't handle it, I'm very sorry, but you do have to play better, so I found that to be refreshing. Speaking of being called out, Keenan Allen actually called out his head coach on Twitter. So Staley's come out and said that they've patched things up and everything's good, but I'm sure you can guess that was not handled very well on his part and probably not taken very well on the coaching staffs. Looks like Odell Beckham is getting close to a return. He is taking phone calls from both the Rams and the Buffalo Bills, looking to join either one of those two teams. But reports are saying they're not the only teams in the running for Odell Beckham's services. So if you get a chance, this might be the time to go out and pick him up if you need a roster spot filled with somebody with high upside. Might be time to get rid of some of those other guys and go grab him. Teddy Bridgewater was playing quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this week in lieu of Tua. Now Teddy Bridgewater is also out dealing with his own concussion issues. Rashad Penny looks like he could be out up to 4 months after breaking his tibia. So it's Kenneth Walker time in Seattle. If you're a Kenneth Walker owner, hey, congratulations, paid off having him on your bench. Dalton Schultz re-aggravated his PCL. At this time, it might be the point for the Dallas Cowboys to go ahead and put him on the IR and give him time to rest. If I heard this correctly, he only saw 10 snaps before he had to come out of the game. Chris Olave was the only healthy starting wide receiver for the Saints going into the game. He is now in concussion protocol. Damian Harris has a hamstring injury that may knock him out for multiple weeks. If you are a Ramondre Stevenson truther like myself, time to pat yourself on the back and roll with him. Ramondre went for over 160 yards on the ground last week and should be in for a huge workload moving forward. Speaking of hamstring injuries, Darren Waller had to leave the Monday Night Football game against the Chiefs. It'll be really interesting to see what the practice reports come out on him. The fact that he had to leave the game early on and was not able to come back in an AFC West showdown means he'll probably miss some time, so make sure you watch those reports. Nyheim Hines was the starting running back for the Colts against the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. With Jonathan Taylor being out, unfortunately, Nyheim Hines also suffered what looked like a scary concussion. He is in concussion protocol and looks like he may miss substantial time as well. Baker Mayfield is out with a high ankle sprain. This means it is P.J. Walker time for the Carolina Panthers. The fantasy fallout from that is absolutely zero. I've said this before, Baker Mayfield has absolutely elevated nobody that he's ever played with. So going to P.J. Walker to me is not an automatic downgrade for any of the weapons for the Carolina Panthers and may actually be an upgrade. In other news, Dak Prescott is throwing the football again. So we should be seeing a return coming up soon. And the final thing I want to talk about a little bit here is the bye week. So this is the week that the bye weeks start. We have the Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans, and Las Vegas Raiders all on bye week. So going back to Darren Waller might be the perfect time for it. If you're a Derrick Henry owner, time to look for a backup at running back. Houston Texans really probably only have Dameon Pierce and Brandon Cooks that you're going to be missing out on. But the Detroit Lions being on bye week may end up hurting a lot of folks. They've got some stud players, but it might be exactly what DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown need to get healthy. All right, folks, that's it for you this week. If you could go down to the comment section, leave a comment who your top 5 stock up and top 5 stock down is for week 5 heading into week 6. If there's any news notes, highlights, anything else that you want to talk about, go down there as well. Leave that comment and let's start that discussion. All right. Want to finish this video with just a quick thank you. We are approaching 1,000 total views on this channel. Thank you so much for that. We are going to celebrate once we get there. If you could, share these videos. Make sure you give it a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If we get enough likes, enough subscribers, enough views, YouTube will help us push this channel out to other folks. That way we can get the viewership numbers up even higher. But we wouldn't even be this far without you. We want you to know, both Joe and I really appreciate all that you do in supporting us. Hey, until next time, see ya.